Hey everyone, Terrence Branley back with the Grow IT podcast, and I do say back because it's been a while, and I'm stoked to have one of my buddies, Ayman, who agreed to join me back on my refiring up of the podcast, Ayman. So I couldn't think of a better person to start off with, and with that, I'm going to turn over to you. Let us, have the old 2-minute elevator speech intro from you, and then we can kick things off.
For sure, let's do it. First and foremost, thank you so much, Terrence, for having me on. I appreciate it. So
Yeah,
here's the quick 30-second elevator pitch. So my name's Ayman from Vancouver, Canada. Moved to Dubai. I'm 20 years old. I started my agency 2.5 years ago. We do YouTube content creation, mainly for agency owners, online coaches. So we focus on actually getting clients from YouTube. A lot of people think of YouTube as like, oh, just getting views, but we really focus on getting clients and making money and a monetary ROI for our clients. We have some clients booking 15 calls a day from YouTube. So I'm very knowledgeable in the organic content realm. We're even branching out into written content as well. We just launched a sister agency doing LinkedIn done for you content. And yeah, that's it about me.
dude, I love it, man. And like I said, so I did this podcast for a few years. We kind of did it primarily for content, and we also used it as a prospecting method to kind of get into conversations with our ideal prospects. And then we've kind of moved on to paid ads, which is where our business is now. But at the same time, I recognize how important content is. Now you can understand why I wanted you to be the first guest on refiring this up, because it's so valuable and it plays to your business model. And we'll obviously go into more in depth into that. But I've like a quick thing. I'm just so impressed with you. The fact you're 20 years old and doing this. I don't know if you want to give numbers out, but you can talk a little bit about kind of how you've grown your agency over the last 2 years. And kind of tell us where you're at now.
Yeah, for sure. So we launched November 25th, 2022, and then we got our first client in 23 days. It was like for 6K up front. It was like my third sales call. I almost slept through it. Bit of a funny story that I won't go into. And then I took that 6K and I took half of it. I invested it into a coaching program right away. So I just turned 18 at the time and I was already like reinvesting back into myself. And then from there, just created this upward spiral where I was just constantly scaling and going up. And yeah, I'm open to sharing some numbers. So we do like low 7 figures per year. So we do like around 120K, 110K a month in that range.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank
One of the things too that always struck me about your business model, we had this similar approach, is that, and I want you to go in depth and kind of explain it, right? Is that value forward approach,
you.
right? And even so, our ICP, our ideal client profile, are IT and tech firms, and we've always tried to instill in them how important it is to go out to the market with a value forward offer, right? And it was funny because when we would start having these conversations, a lot of our IT, clients were like consulting firms. And so they would say like, well, we don't work for free. And I was like, I don't think you understand the importance of going out to the market and building kind of trust with prospects who don't know you, don't love you, aren't part of your referral network, et cetera. And I think what you did in getting your agency going is so important in that value forward approach. And I want you to really detail that, because I think anyone that will hear, listen to this, can find a way to implement this into their business and understand that that value forward approach is just part of client acquisition cost, right? There's two ways to pay for it, either your time or money, or a combination thereof. And so I want you to go into detail, explain how you went about starting your agent, how you scaled it, and what you did in terms of that value forward approach.
For sure, yeah. So I'm like the number one supporter of like always doing free work upfront for prospects. And the reason why is because let's say you're starting out and you have not that much social proof, you're instantly differentiating yourself from like the tens of thousands of people just copy pasting cold DMs like, hey, do you sell a program right now? Or do you need IT services, whatever it might be? Instead, I would reach out to them. At the time when I launched, I was doing free short form videos because we were mainly focusing on short form content. So I would go find a YouTube video or a podcast, clip it up, and then send them a free reel, and then ask them if they want videos like this every single week. And then I would just constantly do that. Roughly for every 100 people you reach out to, from what we've seen, you can close 1 to 2 people. In our prime, it would be in waves. We would sometimes close up to 5 people for every 100 we would reach out to, which means 1 in 20. And you can reach out to like 5 per day. So You can even scale this up with a team as well. But the psychology here is that when you reach out to someone with a free piece of work, they almost feel indebted to you. Like they want or they need to answer you because they're like, yo, Eamon just spent however long they imagine it took. Let's say it took me like 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do a free script or something like that. Maybe to the prospect, they're going to think it took 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. They're going to really feel indebted to you and at least entertain the idea or click into what you made for them and check it out. So like I was saying earlier, right away you differentiate yourself, catch their attention. They look at the piece of free value, and as long as the piece of free value is good and relevant to them, they'll respond to you positively, and then you can transition that into a sales conversation. So I've been doing free work like from the point that I started the agency. I would just set a non-negotiable for myself where I couldn't sleep unless I sent 5 per day, and it worked out pretty well. But what's important is that with outreach specifically is you need to always keep the long term in mind because 2 or 3 years down the line, you don't want to be sending 5 messages a day or whatever number you land on. So you want to build some sort of more leveraged thing at the same time, which for me was content. The other thing is ads as well, which we're currently working on. So, um, yeah, you always want to keep the long term in mind. Have either content going at the same time or try and crack ads, but the free work upfront just works super, super well.
And I think that that long term approach, it goes to what we always talk about in the marketing world, was like the lifetime value, understanding the lifetime value of every client that you get, right? And you really are trying to drive back to what's the client acquisition cost you're willing to pay for that one client, and then the amount of value that equals to your firm over the lifetime that you have that relationship. And so when you talk about, that free value, or going out there with that type of an offer, you're understanding the long-term play on that, right?
Yep.
You're like, hey, I get it. Like, I'm doing this free work, but it's to build, trust, and, to kind of, garner this ability with a client to say, hey, I'm going to give you something, of value first. But it's really understanding the long-term value.
Yep, exactly. I think a lot of people, they'll see, oh, you're doing all these free videos, there's that sunken cost. You mentioned either time or money or both. But then, yeah, they're just completely disregarding the long term. It's like we've closed a client from like free work that has paid us over 6 figures in lifetime value, and they're still an active client 2 years later. And I did 2 free videos for them without even like talking price or anything. Hell, I was even prepared to do 4 free YouTube videos and like take the short term loss on that because I knew the long term potential. So, yeah, I think business owners need to just think a bit more long term sometimes,
Why
for
do you think
sure.
that's a struggle for them, for anybody, whether they're stuck? Because it really, and you did it when you need to, which is at the very beginning when you're trying to grow an agency or grow a firm. But why do you think people are so hesitant to do that?
Hesitant to do free work.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, I would think they're hesitant to do it because they think to themselves, wow, I'm going to do free work for all these people who didn't even pay me. I'm above free work. But really, as a business owner, you're never really above anything. Sometimes you need to get in the trenches and do the dirty work, whatever that might be for your specific business. And business owners shy away from that. But all the ones I've seen who are, let's say, like a founder, maybe he gets back on the phones and he's calling his leads or something. Those are the guys that really see the most success because they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. So I think it's a combination of that, thinking they're above free work when really you never are. And then also, I would definitely say laziness as well. Let's say it's for a more established business owner or even one that's like more on the beginning side. They're always constantly seeing these ads and YouTube videos talking about maybe it's automated cold email or maybe it's paid ads. And they're just thinking, wow, I want something automated that like doesn't rely on me. But that's something you have to build over time and it takes time. So I think a degree of laziness is in there as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to your area of expertise, right? So, you're a YouTube content expert, I would say. I think you'd probably agree.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
One of the things that we see a lot in the marketplace is people valuing or thinking they should be placing value on virality, right? Whether it's a post on LinkedIn they want to go viral, or a video, right? And I think you would agree that it's way more important to associate conversions with, the content you're putting out. And I don't want you to talk in depth is versus virality. And so, can you kind of walk us through how you have those conversations with related to that?
For sure, yeah. So when we talk to a lot of prospects, we have to rewire their beliefs and make them understand that they can sign clients from YouTube videos that have 300 to 1,000 views, which sounds a bit crazy, but really when you think about it, let's say you're in a room delivering a speech to like a high school sized classroom, or maybe a bit more like a auditorium or something, 300 to 1,000 people in there. If you imagine it's filled up with your ideal prospects, your qualified people you'd want to work with, that's a lot of people, 300 to 1,000. So just getting your offer in front of 300 to 1,000 qualified people is much, much better than posting a video, maybe flexing a watch or a Lamborghini, or maybe it's just doing something that's going to get a lot of views, but not get you clients. So some people have the belief that, hey, if I make a video that has 100,000 views, I'm going to attract a bigger pool of qualified prospects. Like maybe 5,000 of those people will be qualified. But then compared to if I did a niche video, I'd get 300 to 1,000 views. So I'd much rather get 5,000 qualified people than 300 to 1,000. But the problem with this mentality is that they end up diluting their audience and attracting very like brain dead people or just people outside of their ICP, and it clouds up their YouTube channel or their social media page. And then what will happen is with basically every social media platform, how it works is they have like a tiered algorithm where when you put out a video, it pushes it out to your existing audience first based on how they react to it. Then it sees if they want to push it out to more people, and then it just keeps going and going and going. And what happens when you have this diluted audience, it pushes, let's say I make a video called how to come up with YouTube video ideas in 2025 to get clients. But all of my other videos were like me flexing fancy cars and I was getting millions of views and I have 100,000 subscribers. Now, when I put out this video called how to come up with YouTube video ideas, then it's going to push it out to all the people who like Lamborghinis, and then it's not going to catch fire. It's not going to really get any views. So you just destroy your brand, destroy your channel. So a lot more business owners need to think long term. Now I keep using this like Lamborghini example just because it's like the easiest thing that comes to mind, but it could be vlogs are a killer, like a silent killer for channels. People will start making these vlogs and then attract a completely different audience as to what they should be attracting. So it's a trap that more people need to be aware of for sure.
And having an effective strategy and going into it, right? In terms of your YouTube channel and not just
Mhm.
whatever comes off the top of your head, right? And I know that you just mentioned like the how to. I
Yep.
think that's part of your tier system of the how to. And I don't want to steal the rest of the thunder, but like kind of walk through the strategic approach that you employ.
Yeah, definitely. So our YouTube system for ideas, basically there's two main buckets of videos. There's how-to content, which we call action-based, and then there's social proof content, which is client interviews and case study breakdowns. So for action-based videos, what we're doing is we're embracing the do-it-yourself mindset of a business owner. So let's say you, Terrence, you want to launch a new YouTube channel, but you know nothing about YouTube, then you're going to go to YouTube and you're going to kind of want to learn like how to do it yourself or how does this new platform work. So you're going to start searching things up such as how to come up with YouTube video ideas, how to write YouTube video scripts, how to use AI in your YouTube videos to get more views and clients. You're going to start searching up these terms because you kind of have the do it yourself mindset, or at least you want to familiarize yourself more with the platform before potentially hiring someone. And then what's going to happen is you're going to come across one of my videos because I'm ranking in search. And then you're going to watch my videos and you're going to be like, wow, Ayman really knows what he's talking about. Sure, I could take what he said and do it myself, but I would much rather hire him. So you're either going to book a call right away or you're just going to consume even more of my content. Typically, this is like a random number I heard from someone and no one knows the real number, but roughly for every like 1 hour someone spends consuming your content, they'll spend $1,000 to $2,000 with you roughly. I would say more closer to 1,000. So if you get someone to consume like multiple hours of your YouTube content, they're basically a closed deal. What'll happen is you'll start booking these sales calls that are just complete layups that close at like 50 to 70% compared to cold traffic. The standard is like 25 to 30%. And you hop on these calls and they're already pre-sold. They'll maybe just ask you like one or two questions, pull out their credit card and move forwards. And also these clients are much better to work with because they have a lot more trust for you, etc. So overall, it makes the business a lot more enjoyable to run. So going back to the strategy here, so action-based videos is like how-to tutorials. There's also educational videos. For example, like if I make a video educating people on why drop shipping is the best business model, I educate them on the pros and some of the cons, but I don't tell them like the actual steps. That's an educational video. I'm educating them, but I'm not telling them step by step how to do something. And then there's action based videos, which is like how to create a dropshipping store. Step 1, open Shopify. Step 2, use this theme. Step 3, click here. That's step by step. That's an action-based video. So that's like your top of funnel that brings new people in through the search bar and the suggested home feed. And then the second bucket of your content is social proof. So it's a mix of client interviews and case study breakdowns. So client interview, you hop on Riverside as we are now, and you ask the client a specific set of questions. You typically in the hook, you want to just try and ask them as quickly as possible, like, hey, what was the point A that you started at and the point B? So then they'll say right away, I used to be at 40K a month, now I'm at 400K a month. You want to get that in the first like 20 seconds of the interview. And then from there, you can kind of like, it almost barely matters what you ask them, just because like that main hook is like the most important part. And it's important you get it in the hook because there's a lot of drop off after the first 1 or 2 minutes. And then the final type of content is a case study breakdown. So this is a video where you're not on an interview with the client, but you're breaking down step by step what they did to get the result that they got through working with you. So you'll be like, this guy, Terrence, the first thing he did is this. We came up with his ideas. Then we wrote his script, boom, boom, boom. And then he got this magic result. And then you post that. Usually it's in the form of a screen recording. So these 2 buckets of content, they work together. The action-based videos feed more people into the case study breakdowns and social proof. And then that's where a lot of the conversions come from. So that's the overall breakdown of the system.
The importance of content, we saw it in our own business, and when I mentioned to you a few years ago that when I started doing the podcast, and probably after, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 months of doing it and putting some of that content, some of the clips and some of the different parts of it out onto LinkedIn, which is where our ICP lives. It was that when we started getting people to sales meetings where they would reference the content out there, right? They're like, oh yeah, I feel like I know you. And I'm like, whoa. That's when I first noticed the power of putting content out there, right? It's just this ability for, people who don't know you to get to know you and to know, like, trust. So when they show up, they're just more likely to buy whatever that means in terms of the buying process, right? But that's where, to me, it's just become incredibly powerful. The challenge always with us and our clients is the long tail effect of it, and having to get into, like we talked about earlier, understanding the long-term value of things. And I guess I'd ask you that too, right? I mean, we live in a society now, right, that is, a lot of young people like yourself, right? And everything is instantaneous. And, now we have the GPTs that are, readily available. And so, how do you balance, the wants, let's call it sometimes, of clients who are like, hey, how do we get things now, versus understanding the long tail effect and importance of putting content out there?
For sure. So there's 2 things we do. So we always like to try and get quick wins for clients, and every agency owner or service-based business should do this, where they try and find some sort of quick win. Usually what this is for clients is maybe they already have some sort of audience on a different platform, whether that's LinkedIn, an email list, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And then what we'll do is we'll post the first video and then just flood it with traffic from external sources, and then get conversions right off the bat off of that first video. So we try and like get some quick wins to show the potential of the platform. And then whenever I'm speaking to these prospects, whether it's on sales calls or over DM, I'm really painting the long-term picture. And yeah, like you said, in today's society, it's kind of difficult sometimes to get the point across to people. But with this analogy or explanation, it typically works out. I usually ask them, like, okay, you're a business owner, are you in this for the long game? And then they'll be like, yeah, of course, I'm in this for the long game. And then I go like, cool, so YouTube is a game for long-term people like yourself. And then I explain to them that due to the nature of the platform, since YouTube is a long-term game, that's why it's so powerful, because most people drop like flies within the first 3 months or even 1 month of posting. They post a little bit and then they just quit because something else in their life comes up. But that's where you, Mr. Prospect, you're going to shine, and you're going to keep posting, and over time you're going to just ascend into the number 1 authority in your niche, because everybody else is just dropping like flies, which leaves the opportunity for you. So we have one client, her name is Simone Bees. We've been working with her for almost 2 years now. It's been like 20 months straight. And like just yesterday, she messaged us saying she booked 15 sales calls in one day from YouTube, which is like crazy. From organic, you factor in the close rate, she's going to make a lot of money from on that day. And she's been posting for 20 months. So like that's one thing to keep in mind. This isn't some overnight type of thing, but now she just has this system. Like she's getting, 22 to 25,000 views every 48 hours on her YouTube channel. Like that's a lot of just minutes being consumed of your face and your content. And going back to what you were saying earlier, like it is very crazy when you hop on a sales call with someone or you're texting someone, they already know you. Like that happens a lot with me. Like maybe I'll be in a sales call and then they'll start referencing things about whether it's where I live, where I moved to, or like certain like words that I use. And yeah, I really like just painting the long-term picture and just flipping the question back on the business owner, be like, okay, you're going to be in business for the next 10, 20, 30 years or something. Having a personal brand and a YouTube channel is like one of the strongest assets you can ever have.
So interesting to me to share a young person myself talk about the long term, the long tail effects. It's good to see. And, I know like, one of the things I want to talk about in terms of the different trends that we're starting to see in
Mhm.
the industry and in video. I know you and I both belong to the same mastermind group, Daniel Fazio, Client Ascension, Olympia, who's also one of your clients, past clients.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have been there kind of chatting a little bit about VEO3 and Flow and the AI created videos. What do you see that going? I mean, obviously we've used it, for ads and whatnot, but like, you're the YouTube content video expert. Where do you see things going with AI and the VEO3 type of platforms for creating video?
Yeah, for sure. I think long term, what's going to happen is so there's a software called HeyGen that you can use to like clone yourself, and then you can give it a script, and then it'll act out the script. It'll say the words. So in my coaching program, because I coach a lot of content agencies, there's some people they use HeyGen, they clone their client and they make it so the client doesn't even have to record. So now the client literally has to do like nothing. I think eventually VO3, maybe it's VO4, is gonna like get to that point. The problem with HeyGen though,
I think it's close, by the way. So it just, and not to interrupt you, but last night
yeah,
I was testing some more stuff because it's constantly evolving and so fast. They had this new thing called ingredients
mhm.
that you can put a static image in there, and it will then replicate that into a video. It's probably not to the degree that HeyGen is. I haven't heard of that one. I'm going to check that one out. I don't know if you mentioned that to me, but at any rate, and things move so fast. But go ahead.
Yeah, things are always moving fast. The thing is though with like HeyGen is like it's not fully accurate, or if you like look at it long enough, you'll kind of notice it's not like fully accurate. But I mean in 2026, 2027, it's going to be completely different. The problem with VO3, as you've seen, is like it's 8 seconds generated at a time. It takes like 5 to 7 minutes, sometimes longer per generation. Like we were trying to do a test project for a client where we generate 10 ad creatives using VO3, but it's been such a pain to do because we're facing so many issues. Luckily, Terrence doesn't have these issues, but like on Flow or Gemini, it'll say, oh, you can only generate 2 or 3 scenes and then you have to wait till tomorrow. So then we have to use like a third party provider that's like marking them up at like 5x. And then we're constantly generating these scenes. Sometimes you tell it, hey, don't put captions on the video, and then it adds captions. And then now you have to wait another 5 to 7 minutes. But it's still so early on, like you said. So like to answer your original question, hey, how do I see this affecting YouTube content, etc.? I think long term, like people will just be cloning themselves and then just like writing down what they need to say and then not recording anything. But I think, well, I mean, definitely there's still going to be always be people recording themselves. But the important thing here is that you need to start posting now more than ever, because let's say you start posting now and then you start to build up a following and then people know you're a real human being, so that 1 year from now, once there's all these like fake humans, they know you're the real deal. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
I think that's a really important point to point out. That is something, right? Because it will get to the point very fast. I mean, we've seen the accelerate, and I've said, I've been around. I had my first agency, I think 15 years ago. And, what we had to do to make ad creatives was it was painful. It was really painful. And today with and I've been knee deep into, the Flow and VEO3 and creating this stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. And it just keeps getting better. And to your point, the limitations that exist there today of the 8-second videos and some of the other things that some like that's quickly, it's just, it will, I wouldn't even say in 2026. My prediction is probably by the end of this fiscal year, the end of this calendar year, that we'll see it substantially improve. And to your point, getting started today to put live content out, this type of interaction, or even just, recording yourself and putting the, how to, why, and the case study, 3 pillar system that you have is really important, because people will get to know, like, and trust the real you before everyone is out there just easily putting out a ton of content, for using AI.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like this theory, it's called like the dead internet theory or something like that. It's like a very old theory where it's basically saying like people think that a lot of the posts online on the internet are not even from real people. And it's like an old theory, but I think it's like not true, but now it's going to become true as time goes on. Like I've seen like people making Instagram accounts of like a pretty woman, and then they'll get like 100, 200, 300,000 views, and people think they're real, giving them money. And this is going to slowly seep into YouTube. I think there's going to be AI sensors or like detectors. I mean, they probably already exist. And then YouTube will have some sort of like icon or some sort of badge on a video that was AI generated, just to kind of like help differentiate things a little bit. We see this with like universities with like ChatGPT detectors. I think the same thing will exist for video generated by AI, but still, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's like scary. I think it's like very, very cool, because then for people like me and you who are like generating content already for so long, we're going to be like way ahead of the curve, and we're already messing around with BO3. So I think with us, like we know there's always going to be a way we can take advantage of AI. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing it does too is for people that are a little bit camera shy, let's say, right? And we have a lot of clients we do ad stuff for and do videos for, and aren't good on camera for whatever reason. They're just not comfortable. It's just they don't come across the same way. And a lot of it's just practice, right? Like,
Yeah.
as you know too, right? If you look back on the stuff that I started doing a few years ago, it looks nothing like today, right? And you probably the same way.
Yeah.
But it maybe gives them an opportunity to be able to put things in terms of, let's call it text. They may be very good writers that can write what they want to say, and then have an AI Terrence articulate it for them, or whatever they may be, to at least bridge that gap of the know, like, trust in creating videos. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of people who want to create content, but they're very camera shy, and they
Mhm.
struggle. Maybe they'll start a little bit and then quit. But with anything in life, there's that learning curve where you're going to be bad on camera at first and then you get good. So yeah, if you look at my old content, just like you said for yourself, I was so bad before, but now I would like to think I'm pretty decent on camera. And we see the same thing with all of our clients as well. At first, they have a lot of like mental friction to recording because it's something like they haven't done. That's also why a lot of people just stop posting in the first 3 months. But then after that, they really just get the hang of things and it almost becomes natural. I think a lot of people should move into a batch recording model where they like pick out one day of the week, whether it's like Saturday, and try and knock out like 2 or 4 YouTube videos in on that same day. Just it feels a lot better knowing you're like ahead of schedule with content rather than being like week by week. Definitely. For you and your clients, are you only doing ads for them, or do you also help them with organic content as well?
For now, so we that used to be one of our core offerings, is helping them put out content, but that was a different kind of ICP. It was more like the IT consulting firms that were more long tail, that were just trying to build and grow their network and establish new relationships with C-level, et cetera. So we don't do that as much for them now, but we do see it as something that would like to offer them again, because we just see how important it is. Even ourselves, like, we frankly have neglected it over the last 4 to 5 months, as we've gone into paid ads, like jumping into the deep end of the pool with basically like 30-pound weights on our feet, and so, but and this is why I'm doing this thing today. We recognize the importance of how important it is to put content out there. And so, uh and I think the other thing it does too is, even if you are, this is where I think it accelerates things, and I want your opinion on this, and to see if how many of your clients are running paid ads. Because the first thing that people seem to do is go do research, right? They may see this guy that they don't know, me, let's just use me for example, come on their news feed, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or any of those platforms, right? And I've got my ad hook, right? Like, hey, are you an IT tech founder, right, who is tired of relying on referrals, the feast-or-famine sales cycles, and just want to grow a consistent pipeline of clients, right? Like, almost like I've said that 90 times before. And it it's one thing to do that, and then it's another to pull someone through a funnel. But then it's another when they're like, okay, well, who's this Terrence Branley character, right? And then go do it. They're gonna go do a Google search. They do that on everybody. I do it. You probably do it on anyone
Yep.
you're gonna jump on a sales call with, right? And they'll see, okay, here's their background, right? Like what content are they putting out there? And they can say, okay, is this a person that I want to even do business with, right? They may watch one of my videos, and I'm not for everybody. They may watch one of my old podcasts and be like, this guy is too old, too pompous, too whatever, right? You know, and that's okay. But what it also does too is it attracts the right people to say, this guy's a no BS, transparent kind of guy. This is the type of guy I wouldn't mind, getting on a call with. I don't feel like I'm going to waste my time, right? So I think there's that. I don't know what is your kind of viewpoint on it in terms of content being able to support any paid outreach or whatnot.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I actually wrote an email for my newsletter about this like exact topic of how paid ads cooperates with organic content. There's a lot of people selling organic content services, and they'll try and downplay cold outreach, or they'll try and downplay paid ads and say, oh, paid ads is bad. But paid ads are great. And a lot of businesses doing millions or tens of millions of dollars a month, they use paid ads. But like you said, people want to do their research before buying. We live in a very skeptical market. When someone sees your ad, imagine they just have this thermometer and it's like all the way to the top. They're like super skeptical. And the more content you have and more social proof you have, it brings that thermometer down and wants to make them book a call. And yeah, there's many instances where somebody will see an ad creative for one of our clients. They'll watch the ad. They won't necessarily book a call through there, but then they'll search them up through YouTube. They'll start to get a couple more like retargeting ads from them. And then since they watch a YouTube video and they watch a good percentage of it, YouTube naturally retargets them and recommends more videos from that creator to them. And then they just get caught in this ecosystem consuming this person's content. And then it makes the conversion cycle elapse much, much quicker. And then by the time they hop on the call, now instead of being cold traffic, someone very skeptical, there's someone who's already super, super pre-sold. They hop on the call already knowing who you are, how you speak, etc. And it just accelerates things a lot. I wish a lot more business owners would just like literally invest like 2 to 4 hours per month like into their content, whether it's ideally a combination of written content and YouTube, because it's the fuel to the fire that fuels your or increases the marketing velocity of your entire business. If your paid ads are doing great, just add YouTube in there. Very easy to add an extra like 30 to 100K a month if you're already doing good. And yeah, a lot of people should just stop neglecting it for sure.
You do a really good job, by the way. I mean, you have great LinkedIn posts,
Thank you.
your newsletter. Like you do a really good job of that, and it's the any of that content that you could put out there is just going to do an overall sport. I like the way you put it. It's just more fuel on the fire that you're already adding, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask this: what's a quirky like? I'll tell you, I have like a quirky habit before I start hitting record to do a video. It doesn't matter if it's like if it's for ad hooks or for a VSL or even just like kind of what I would call one-way content, like not like this where you and I are having a conversation, but one-way content. And like, I can't have anyone else like in the room. Like it makes it, I don't know what it is. Like even like, and I've got two, sons. I've got one who's your age and I'll have to tell him like, hey, don't come down in the next 15 minutes because I'm recording. And if even someone walked, you can't hear him or whatever, but like, I have to like lock myself away or put myself to where no one else is going to come in my ear, or line of sight. And that's my quirky, part of it. Do you have any like habits or rituals that you go through before hitting record, or do you have, even do you share with clients?
Yeah, I think I definitely don't share any with clients, but with me, I'm fine with like recording if somebody's in the room. Like sometimes my brother Ryan, he'll be like watching me record or he'll be like on his phone nearby. I think I don't really have anything other than I need to make sure usually I have like no other like meetings in the day. And then just because like later it kind of like messes up with my brain if I know I have like sales calls later or something. But quirky stuff other than that, like no, I just kind of hit record. It's like almost like just natural to me now. I mean, as I'm sure it is with you as well, after you record so many videos, it's just like boom, hit record, go. I definitely like having some sort of like bullet points or like script or document to just like look over just to refresh my brain on the bullet points beforehand. But then other than that, nothing much.
Do you think that let's go back to when we talk about like where people are so hesitant to put content out there and that like we both pointed out, right? If you go back and look at our original stuff, it's terrible, right? Or
Yeah.
that we would judge it as terrible. Do you think the hard part is like them people being critical, like, oh, I don't want to look stupid, I don't want to look like a clown, I don't want to, seem like whatever. And the fact is like it's just like getting on a bike, just keep pedaling. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, oh, making YouTube videos, I'm gonna look like this clown dancing on camera or something like that. But really, it's the opposite. Like, for example, there's this new YouTube channel that's come up over the last few months. His name is Ryan Clog. He's doing, I believe, like, yeah, he's doing like $75 million per year or something like that with a fitness offer. And he's just posting these daily, like, super valuable YouTube videos. He doesn't look like a dancing clown. He's giving very good information, and he's a very smart individual people want to learn from. I think people need to come with the mind frame to YouTube, assuming they're a good business owner, they're knowledgeable in their field, they should approach recording with the mind frame that, hey, people want to learn what I know. People want to know how we do what we do, et cetera. And I have valuable information to give out to the world. And that should help give them that push to want to record more. Like I know for myself, there's a lot of people who I've directly impacted their lives or like showed them how to make more money, et cetera. And I know now if I never posted YouTube videos, like there would be a lot of people in far worse positions than they are now. Like for example, in our coaching program, like we have someone who joined at like 8K a month with their content agency, and then I met up with them in person in Dubai. Like 11 months later, they're doing like 75K a month, and they have like a wait list of clients, and it's just like so amazing to like see that in person. You know what I mean? So people need to realize the positive impacts and waves that this can create, not only for their own income, but also how it impacts other people. Have you had like some sort of experience like that, or do you ever think like that?
Yes, and but I think part of it, and I've had these conversations with our previous clients. I think some of it, and I'll tell you, this I think is a good dichotomy, right? You're a young guy. I'm a little bit older, but I feel young,
Yeah.
and I've this was my hesitancy of putting myself out there to content because until 2.5 years ago, with the podcast, I did not put content out. I felt like the same way I described, which is like, hey, I don't want to be a clown. I don't want to be like this know-it-all out there, whatever. And the fact of the matter is, if you stay in your lane, like I only talk about stuff that I know about, right? Like stuff that I love talking about, that I'm good at, marketing and things of that nature, right? I don't try and expound on things, give life philosophies. I don't do any of that, right? And what I don't think appreciate it, and I think a lot of people probably come from this viewpoint, is that we don't truly value what's the experience or the things that we know. We just think everyone knows that. Everyone knows that, right? Like, and they don't, right? And even like the VO3 stuff, right? Like you and I are probably top 5% right now of the people that know anything about VO3 and making AI videos. The point is, the more that you can share that perspective, it helps everybody. And I think just the other thing is, don't discount what you know. And it does, you're a young guy, right? But you know a heck of a lot, right? And so don't discount what you know. Put your thoughts, you know, people call it thought leadership, whatever. But like, stay in your lane, stay in the stuff that you know well and are passionate about, and your content will take off. And you mentioned like Ryan Clog. I've like that. There's a couple things he's done really well. He's been consistent. He's shown up every day and doing videos. In fact, he posted something on 4th of July, like, hey, sorry, I'm going to try and I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to do it before like 12 a.m. Like that dude is like, he's next level. But I think just showing up and doing it and putting content out there and just kind of staying in your lane and what you know, and just talk about stuff talk about stuff you're passionate about, and let the rest take care of it. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I love that saying you said. I'm gonna steal that where it's like, don't discount what you know. I'm gonna start using that. But yeah, consistency is a huge factor, like you mentioned for Ryan Clog. People just expect short-term results, but if you just really show up every day, that's how these algorithms reward you. Like a lot of the times, once they see you're showing up every day, or not necessarily every day, just like consistently, that's when you really start to get rewarded. So like for YouTube, for example, unless you're posting weekly, it's hard to get the channel to crack and like catch fire. You can do like max maybe like 3 videos a month, but really, or sorry, minimum 3 videos a month. But 4 videos a month is really that sweet spot where it's like easy to record and easy to stay consistent with it. Some people try and jump in too far into the deep end and do like maybe it's 8 videos a month or 12 videos a month, or maybe the equivalent on Twitter is they jump right in trying to do like 20 tweets per day, and then they quit too quickly. You need to like slowly ramp up, and that's how you get that consistency and get the algorithms to reward you. But yeah, people need to stop discounting what they know. They need to really realize, like you said, stay in their lane and talk about things they're knowledgeable about, and then try and also mix in some things you're passionate about. And yeah, it'll all work out for sure.
So I think I'm going to give you an open loop here. I think we're going to use this as an example of how putting yourself out there can help somebody else, and this is specific to you. Um, I don't know if you invest in cryptocurrency. I'm a
Yep.
Bitcoin guy. I love
Mhm.
it for a lot of reasons, right? And you'll see when the price goes up, everyone's like, I'm buying Lambos, and when the price goes down, they have this meme of like, I'm going back to work at McDonald's, right? As if that's some terrible, terrible thing. And again, I don't know if that's supposed to, the Lambo versus the McDonald's analogy is supposed to be the top of the pinnacle of life and the bottom of the barrel, but you worked at McDonald's. And so I want to ask you, right? You talk about being a young guy who came from not too long ago working at McDonald's to now having a six-figure a month agency. Talk about that and talk about someone who is in those shoes now working at McDonald's. And I also want to hear about some of the things that you learned from that you can apply to your business now.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So, yeah, working at McDonald's, I started working at 14 years old, which is actually illegal. You have to be 15 years old. The long story short, because I was turning 15 in like 3, 4 months, and my brother had worked there before me, they let me in somehow. I don't know how that worked. And so I was working from a very young age. And because for a very long time, I just had like not too much money. Like I was always middle class. Like I always had food at the table, somewhere to sleep, etc. But in my own personal bank account, I would just have like $100 or something. And it kind of like pissed me off a little bit. So I started working at McDonald's, but I was I wasn't a very hard worker. Like I would, because I was in school, but I would only work like 4 hours per week, maximum 8 hours per week. So my paychecks biweekly were like $200 roughly. So I wasn't making any crazy money there. But I would say what I learned is I learned how to speak with people because I was like a cashier most of the time. So I'd like talk to all these people, take their orders, and then other than that, I don't think I learned like too much. It was mainly just customer service and then also just discipline in terms of like, hey, wake up, go to work, come back home, even though it was only once or twice per week. But what it really taught me was like, oh, I don't want to be doing this long term. That was like the main thing I took out of it. But I also worked at Costco after, which is like a supermarket type of thing. And I and working there, what I did was, I don't know if I should be proud of this or not, but basically like I would go for like an 8 hour shift, but over time I realized I figured out kind of how to work less during that 8 hour shift, and then I was like trying to make money during the shift. At the time I was like trading cryptocurrency. I thought I was going to make it out doing that. And then I would just use all my free time that I could during work to try and figure out how to get out of work. So I learned at that job like how to get stuff done like very quickly, and then like have my free time to like try and figure out other things to do, because we were working in a it was like e-commerce where we would like pack orders and you just had like a certain amount of orders to pack, and then you could kind of mess around a little bit. So it really just taught me that I don't want to be doing that long term, and it taught me how to speak with people, and also like waking up, or it taught me like how to consistently wake up early as well, which is a funny thing to say.
I don't think there's a bad lesson, by the way, in the hey, it taught me what I didn't want to do, and I don't think there's even a bad lesson in terms of the time utilization thing, right? Like
Mhm.
even though Costco's paying you on the clock, you got your time done, you got your work done, right? And where other people may go, shoot the shit with their buddies, right, or go have a smoke or whatever, you may have been utilizing it to build a side hustle, right? And so I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I think it helped probably you recognize that you didn't want to trade your time for money type of thing because it's limited, right? Time and resources, we talked about it, and each of us only has 24 hours a day, right? And so if you're going to trade your time for an hourly wage, that's what it's going to be, right? And the other is just, hey, like understanding that that same time utilization, right? You could have used it going and shooting the shit with your buddies, but you used it to try and further your side hustle. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like when you say it like that, yeah, it's definitely a good thing. I learned time management as well. But then what happened was I wanted to request time off from Costco so I could go back to my hometown because I moved to Montreal. I want to go back to Vancouver on the West Coast, but then they like crumpled up my like request for time off and like threw it in the garbage, and they just disrespected me. They're like, yeah, like who do you think you are requesting time off? So then I just quit. And then like from there, that's when I really started taking things more seriously. And then I landed this internship because I was playing because at the time I did like a clothing brand launch. I was 16 or 17 or something. I did like a clothing brand launch, and we did like a couple $1,000. And then I was talking to this dude on a basketball court, and then I was talking about like SaaS software, this, that. And he's just like, who's this 17-year-old like talking about all this stuff? So he gave me like a marketing internship. And that's where like I learned more stuff. So I think life is truly blessed in the sense of like where like everything happens for a reason. One thing leads into the next, and then just creates this like spiral.
I agree. All right, let's do a couple rapid fire ones. I think we already talked about some tips, but give me a couple of like two practical tips for someone that's in B2B. I won't limit it to IT or tech. I won't be that selfish, but who wants to start on YouTube right now.
Yeah, for sure. So someone wants to start on YouTube right now who's in B2B, focus on getting like easy, quick win videos out. So you can just make the easiest thing to do is break down your service into steps and then create an action-based video for each one. So for example, for myself, we have like 4 or 5 steps. So we have like the video ideation, then it's the scripting, then it's the editing, and then like there's thumbnails as well. These are kind of like the 4 main things. So like make a video about each one, how to come up with YouTube video ideas, how to write a YouTube script, what should your video editing look like for B2B, and then the last one is what makes a good YouTube video thumbnail. Right away, I have 4 videos, and these are all going to be very easy to record because they fall under your area of expertise. These are like the main core pillars of your service. So try and create those videos first, and then move into doing some social proof content. It's very easy to just hop on Riverside with your client, talk, and hit record, and then boom, you post that as a video. That's another very quick win. Just try and get into the groove of getting videos out, and also just force yourself to post for 3 months, because once you have the habit for 3 months, it's very likely you'll continue as long as you're batch recording, etc. So I would say that's the first practical tip. And then the second practical tip for B2B is don't get discouraged by low view counts. Low view counts can also be an indicator that you're doing the right thing, because you're not, making top of funnel, super broad content. Hey, I bought this expensive car, etc. But rather you're making good niche content. As long as some people in your ICP are watching it and you're getting good feedback and you think the videos are valuable, then just keep pushing through it. And then the final quick practical tip is always remove fluff in your videos. You want to be that guy that's like very straightforward, giving like good advice with no fluff, and try and always just remove words out of your script.
Look at that. We got 2 and a bonus tip. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a fun one. So obviously in our marketing space, there's a lot of guys that we probably know, respect, and follow. If you could spend a day with one of those guys, right, and someone that follow, trust, that you could maybe spend the day with and talk personal stuff, talk business stuff, they could, apply to your business, who would it be?
Yeah, probably Alex Becker. Even though I don't like
Oh,
watch his stuff like too much, or I do consume like quite a bit, I think it would be very interesting because before, he had like an SEO agency, and then he moved into software and other things. I think it would be like very interesting to get his perspective on what I'm doing, where I'm currently at, etc. It's like I could say someone who like I already know or speak to who's like ahead of me, but then it's like I want to be someone who like I've never spoken to. Or I could also say like Hormozy too, even though I don't really watch like his stuff. It'd be very good to get either him or Alex Becker's perspective on what I'm doing for sure.
man, I think for me it'd probably be Hermosi. I'd probably have to think about it. There's a few, like even Jeremy Haynes. I know, like it's funny. I
True.
was exchanging back and forth with him on X yesterday, but like Alex Becker, like I've tried watching his videos. I almost need to like pause and like go get a breath of air and then come back and start it again. Like he is just next level with his like energy, with his I don't give a what. Like it's just like he's the one guy I think when I'm watching his content, I've really got to like go, okay, well, hang on, like hang on a minute, give me a minute to catch my breath, man.
Yeah. He's really good at like speaking and like being like mixing in funniness into the video. Like he's really good. I enjoy watching his stuff.
He definitely has that. Like, I mean, again, there's certain people like he doesn't try and portray an image or anything, right? Like, I mean, he probably does to a degree, but like, and granted, he's very well off, does very well with Hyros. That is a money printing software platform, I'll tell you. All right,
Yeah.
last one. Biggest lesson you've learned so far in 2025?
Biggest lesson in 2025 is that you need to really invest the right amount of time in your team, and you shouldn't like take your foot off the gas, not in a sense of like effort, but rather like oh, let the team kind of do their thing hands off, because there's a lot of like free time in the day that can be taken advantage of in their work hours. And there's a lot of things that we're personally doing as founders of businesses that we shouldn't be doing. So for example, like, I don't really, let's see, I don't really like building funnels on ClickFunnels. So it's like, boom, I train my team how to do it. Now I don't have to do that. Now that I remove that roadblock, it allows me to create more YouTube videos, because in each YouTube video, we make like a new ClickFunnels funnel. Now I don't have to do that. And then I'm just constantly like thinking of like, okay, what's more things I can train my team to do? And then also a really good thing that I learned as well is you want your team members to be a bit ambidextrous. Like you want them to be able to do another person's job. So for example, like our strategist can also quality check videos, and probably eventually I'll train my video quality checker to be able to come up with YouTube video ideas. So then, hey, if this guy has to take a sick leave, we're still good. And I like it also. Or another thing I learned is that it's important to like take your brain and kind of like project it onto people in a sense of like teaching them how you think, so that they can think like you. So you want them to think of like how you deal with certain client situations. You want them to learn how you go about marketing, how you speak, how you write, so that they can substitute for you in many things. They can write your email newsletters, do your ClickFunnels, they can speak to clients, and just make everyone think like you. It just makes the business a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a good one. All
Yeah.
right.
How about for you? I know we don't have too much time. I have a call in like
I
five
think
minutes.
the
I want
biggest
to.
thing for me, yeah, no, I'm good, and I think the biggest thing is just AI. I know it gets over talked about, but again, being like let's call it the tail end of my career versus someone like you starting out, I see how unbelievably powerful it is. Not just in the video creation for ad creatives, I use it. I have like six, Chrome tabs with all of them at Perplexity and Claude and Chat GPT, and not only that, I've started kind of messing around with N8N, right, to be able to
Mhm.
build workflows and stuff. To me, so when I came into the business world was, and I'm dating myself and I don't care, was right before the internet started coming about, right? Probably about let's call it a 3 to 4 year time frame before the internet came, right? And obviously the impact that had on B2B and business was huge. This AI is going to make that look like child's play. And so I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing for me is in 2025 is just seeing how fast AI is coming, is improving and getting implemented into businesses. And I think what would be really, really cool for guys like us is, who are running agencies to see one of us, and I know it'll be you someday, build $1 billion agency with just a small team and just using these AI tools. So to me, that's the biggest thing, man.
Yep. AI is amazing. Yeah, I look forward to that. People with really big agencies with very small teams. Once they crack like AI video editing, that's gonna be me. But for now, we're pretty human dependent. But I'm looking forward to that for sure.
I had to, man. We're gonna have to continue this again. Like I said, this is the first of firing back at the Grid IT podcast. I can't think of a better person to do it with. How can I was going to ask the question like, how can people find you on the internet? But go ahead and give your YouTube. I know you're also on X and LinkedIn and whatnot. If they want to learn more about your company, how you might be able to help them with, their brand and content on YouTube and developing out their own channel.
Yeah, for sure. So on all platforms, it's the Ayman Arab, and you can just Google my name as well, Ayman Arab, and then magically all my social links will pop up. That's the good part about just posting content online. It just indexes you on Google, so it's not too hard to find me. But thank
Okay.
you so much, Terrence, for having me on. I really appreciate
Dude,
it.
we'll make sure and put all the links by down there, by the way. But like, it's my pleasure, man. Like, I am so excited to watch you. I feel like, and that's one of the things too, is the tail end of my career, watching young guys like you come in who are so smart and so hardworking, and just, I can't wait to see where you're going with things. So I'm grateful you spent time. I hope we were able to give some value. I know you did, and I really appreciate your time. We'll make sure and get you on. We'll just keep this as an ongoing thing, man.
Yep, let's do another one. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
brother.